Mark Zuckerberg over at Facebook. You see, Mark Zuckerberg was the one who was somehow in bed enough with the deep state that they shut down. They just shut down the former president's account. I mean, they did that on Twitter, too. Kind of amazing, right? The Ayatollah could have an account, but not the president of the United States. Think about it. So Mark Zuckerberg is now likely realizing he may need some friends in the White House because Biden's not going to be there forever. He sat down with Emily Chang of Bloomberg Television, whom I used to work with, and did this little interview in which he praised Donald Trump. Praised him big time. Calling him a bad... Can we say that on YouTube these days? Reminder, subscribe if you haven't. Subscribe, share, like, all of that. Really important right now. Really, really important. I think we can say it. Anyway, let's go to the clip of Emily and Mark.
I've done some stuff personally in the past. I'm not planning on doing that this time. And that includes, not endorsing either of the candidates. Now, look, there's obviously a lot of crazy stuff going on in the world. The historic events over the last, over the weekend. And, on a personal note, it's, seeing Donald Trump get up after getting shot in the face and pump his fist in the air with the American flag is one of the most badass things I've ever seen in my life. But look, it's, and I think, look, it's, at some level as an American, it's hard to not get kind of emotional about that spirit and that fight. And I think that's why a lot of people like the guy.
So Mark's kissing the ring too. What do you know? That's something for him to say that. I appreciate it. It seems very honest. But, he's a business guy too. Just like Fox News is trying to cozy up, you got Facebook trying to cozy up. Because you know what they're worried about? They're worried about a giant breakup, an antitrust issue. How can you have so many people on that one platform, plus Instagram, plus the Threads thing? You see, if they want to keep growing bigger, that's going to be kind of a problem with J.D. Vance there. J.D. Vance, who's kind of more into smaller businesses and smaller corporations and kind of feels very strongly. He's got a whole thing about it. Well, that's not going to work with the Amazons of the world or the Facebooks of the world, right? Speaking of Amazon, we got Alexa talking here in the background. She didn't like that either. You see, I'm onto something, right? None of these companies want to get broken up. And so it's unusual to have a conservative that thinks that way. Usually conservatives are all about, okay, well, if the company gets bigger, that's good. But I think this team is looking at it a little bit differently. And they're saying, hey, maybe being bigger isn't best. And maybe the average person loses out when you have these quasi-monopolies out there. And so consequently, Mark Zuckerberg is like, I better make sure I have some friends. Well, let me see. I'm going to compliment the guy. And you know what? Donald Trump will take the compliment. So see, that's the difference between, say, Zuck and Trump. Trump will happily take that compliment. I think he'll always keep him at arm's length. He'll always know, wait a second, didn't you actually ban me from your platform? Just last Friday, this story was not reported by anybody but me. Last Friday, Meta said, oh, we're going to open the spigot. We're going to take some of the restrictions off the account. You see, they let him come back onto the platform about a year ago, but then they suppressed him. And so now the restrictions have been lifted, and now Donald Trump can be on Facebook and communicate more with people on Facebook. But you're sitting there going, what the heck have we just been through, ladies and gentlemen? They tell the right, you're trying to seize our democracy and kill our country as we know it. And we're like, wait a second. We're not the ones doing what you guys are doing. 91 indictment counts? I'm sorry, but that was crazy. You're trying to bankrupt the guy with a $500 million fine? You're trying to put him in jail? Fani Willis? Can't you come up with anyone better than Fani Willis to go after him? Right? It's like a bunch of clowns, but nonetheless, those clowns have power, you guys. That's what's so frightening about where we've been and where we're going. That's why it's really important that we actually have some adults in the room. I don't think there's any adults in the Biden administration. You get the former MSNBC anchor, Jennifer Granholm, who doesn't understand energy markets and is making this giant push for EVs. Oh, well, all EVs except Elon's EVs. You see, those aren't allowed. All these EVs. And she doesn't understand how energy markets work. And nobody can seem to understand that when you limit the amount of energy on the global market, it's going to have an effect on energy prices, thereby driving them up. And when you drive them up, guess what? The cost of everything goes up because it's a big factor in everything. And you can't just flip a switch and everybody goes out and buys an EV overnight, Jennifer, as much as you'd like to do that. So you get somebody who doesn't know her, you know what, from her. Well, I'm not going to go there, but she doesn't know what she's doing. She is our energy secretary. And then you go over to Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, who has been wrong on every single issue. I mean, he may be a smart guy. He's just always wrong. I mean, how can you be wrong that many times in history? John McCain warned us about him. Yeah, John McCain. Amazing warning back in 2014. He wouldn't approve him as Deputy Secretary of State under Barack Obama because he said this guy is dangerous. He is so darn wrong on everything. Well, what have we seen? But a whole bunch of bad stuff ever since Antony Blinken came in as Secretary of State. He's, by the way, the guy that teamed up with Mike Morell to get 51 ex-spies to write that it was not Hunter Biden's laptop, and then made sure that the New York Post lost its Twitter account because it was the one that reported on the story. I mean, for goodness sakes, these people don't know what they're doing. And then you got Pete Buttigieg, who's rumored to be possibly stepping in for Joe Biden. And poor Pete, I mean, we got a transportation, you know what, going on. A real storm, literally. And we haven't even talked about CrowdStrike yet and the flights that were canceled. You got a mess in the sky. You got a mess on the rails. East Palestine, Ohio, a good example. I mean, they do not have a smart team. And when you don't have a smart team, you leave the country extraordinarily vulnerable. I mean, I look at this team. It's one of the reasons why I started 76 Research. I mean, in full transparency, guys. I mean, I really care. I care about you. I care about our country. I care about making sure that you can provide for yourself in the future. And I cannot tell you over the years how many people, I mean, just people on the street, people I go to a conference and speak and they want to know what to invest in, or, you know, the makeup artist at work would say, you know, what do I put my money in? And this is why I created 76 Research. I created 76 Research because I want you to have good, you know, I can't call them safe necessarily. I mean, they're about as safe as me because, you know, look, they've been handpicked by the likes of me and Rob Horton, who's brilliant. And so, you know, it's probably about as good as you're going to get out there anywhere. But investing is always risky. The thing is, you got to do it. You got to do it. I don't care if it's $5 a week. You got to do it. And you got to know where to go and where to start. And this is why we created these model portfolios. We have the American Resilience portfolio so that you can get growth outside of, say, NVIDIA, which is what you call a high beta stock, up, down, all over the place. So you don't want that kind of volatility necessarily, but you do want growth. So take a look at the American Resilience portfolio, or take a look at the inflation protection portfolio, which is a big part of, you want to make sure you're investing in companies that are going to keep pace with all this inflation and make sure that you got more coming in the door next year than you do this year. And then you need to also look at, say, income, right? If you want to retire, how are you going to keep paying the bills when you're retired? That's what the income builder portfolio is about. So we picked 3 really solid portfolios, 10 to 15 stocks in each, that you can subscribe to so that you can have an idea on where to invest. And we guide you through it. For example, we made a change in American Resilience just the other day, added a really wonderful company to that portfolio. We don't make changes a lot because we're big believers in you buy and you hold, but sometimes there's opportunities, especially when one stock does well. You don't want to have an overweight in that particular area. So then you start to diversify and add something else in. Anyway, go check it out. And for those of you that haven't subscribed yet, you can get this for $1 a month. $1 a month, the 76 report. The model portfolios are different. I think it's like an additional 23 if you add one of those on. But for $1 a month, introductory rate for 2 months, cancel anytime, you can get the 76 report. 76report.com or 76research.com. Get the report. Listen, guys, I mean, take care of yourself first. This is why I started this. I said to Rob, all this research is coming on from up high, right? Goldman Sachs is the world, which I used to work at. They're disseminating all this information down, but by the time it gets to your average person, like, it's complicated and it's not always as authentic and real as it should be, because there's so many vested interests. Rob can tell you all about it because he worked at Wall Street the last couple of decades, ran billions of dollars, and they have all kinds of rules, especially regarding, say, ESG, and then DEI is creeping into the equation. And it's like, wait a second, no. We're capitalists here. We just want to make money, right? How can we make money? So this is what this is about. But not, no quick fixes here. I don't believe in that. This is about steady Eddie, okay? So take a look at the 76 report, 76report.com or 76research.com, and use, oh my gosh, I forgot, code word dollar, D-O-L-L-A-R, code word dollar, D-O-L-L-A-R, dollar. We want a strong one, by the way. I don't know, it's always what everybody agrees. Some people want a weaker one so that we can ship more goods overseas, but I don't buy that. I believe in a strong dollar. D-O-L-L-A-R. That's your code word. You get it for $1 a month for the first 2 months.